Right, welcome everybody. This is Martin Longden, the owner and director of Leading Point. Great to have your company with us on today's webinar. I'm just waiting for a couple of people to join us. We've got quite a good crowd here tonight. There's approximately 60 of you, so welcome everyone. Jenny, Margaret, Calvin, Brian, it's great to have you. Thank you. Yes, that's right. I'm really looking forward to tonight's webinar as well. We're going to get started in just a moment. I'm just waiting for a couple of other things to be put into place, which are unable for you to see on the screen right now, but are really going to be important for me to refer to throughout tonight's webinar. All right. So what we're looking at tonight is the second step of the 5X marketing system. Just to give you a really brief recap whilst I'm waiting for a couple of things to finalize here, the 5X marketing system is the system that we use within our own business in order to assist us deliver the service that we give our clients and help them effectively get more clients. So what we've done is we've broken our 5X marketing system down into 5 simple chunks of information you can work through, and you'll be getting this series where you'll be able to find this on our website. All you need to do is just simply, I think, input your email address. I think that's it, and you get access to 5 of these videos that take you through each of the 5 steps of our 5X marketing system, and you can then learn what we do and find a way to then implement that into your own business. We give you worksheets and we show you specifically how to do the basics of what needs to be done in order to get you started. So there we go. All right, so we're ready to go. So trust that gives you a bit of a background. Everybody, welcome. We're looking at step 2 of the 5X marketing system on tonight's webinar. And just really quickly, if everyone can hear me, please just type in yes or a 1 in your chat box, just so I know that everyone is great. Okay, so I'm seeing lots of Y's. Yes, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, Brian. All right, so the 5X marketing system, step 2, the buyer gateway. Now, just a quick recap. The first step is on the lead magnet, and this is your piece of information, your specific solution for a very specific problem that you have put together in order to then create an initial attraction and engagement from someone that's looking for a solution around a problem that they have. They find what you offer through your lead magnet, they see that as an ideal solution, and they then connect with that and access that. Now, what we're looking at tonight is the buyer gateway. So what do we mean specifically by a buyer gateway? And again, it's really important that we understand the meaning of what a buyer gateway is, so then everything that we develop within this phase of our marketing system is congruent to maintaining and communicating the proper meaning of a buyer gateway so it functions well and it does what it's intended to do, and that is to give an opportunity for a client to become, or for a potential qualified lead to become a customer at a very, very low level. Now, there are 4 key components. Before I go there though, let me give you the exact definition of what a buyer gateway is. It's just simply a specific offer that converts a potential qualified lead into a paying customer. Now, what I would like to point out to you right now is when I say paying customer, we're not talking about a fully fledged customer or a client engaging with your core service. We'll cover that in the next webinar. What we're talking about right now is shifting the relationship that this potential qualified lead has with you from being a potential customer or a potential qualified lead to becoming someone that has just made a very simple, low-level, easy purchase in order to change their perception of themselves and obviously influence their psychology to go from being a looker to now an active participant in actually testing your product, your service, and acquiring what that represents in this particular offer in your buyer gateway. So then your potential qualified lead actually has an experience and they've become a customer and they've tested, they've trialed, or they have experienced an aspect of your service in some way, shape, or form. So let's look at the major components of what the buyer gateway represents. Firstly, the buyer gateway or the service or the product that you offer around the buyer gateway is just simply a very specific, simple aspect of your overall core service or your product. Secondly, it's a low entry barrier. In other words, it's very easy to engage with or connect with. And I'll give you a great example really quickly. You go to the supermarket, you're packing your groceries or checking them out through those swipe machines, and you see in the aisle there's a packet of chewing gum. And now you ask yourself, can I really afford this or not? Sorry, you don't ask yourself that question. What you do, just simply ask yourself is along the lines of, do I feel like buying that or picking it up? I've run out of mints. I prefer chewing gum. It's a really, really easy sell, and it's designed to get you looking at a product or a service that you've already had thinking about or that appeals to you in that moment, and that enables you to engage with that very, very simply. It also contains a lot of value. There's a high amount of value that when you purchase this service or this buyer gateway, what happens is that you're going to experience quite a high level of imparted value that this buyer gateway contains, and it's going to continue to deliver ongoing education and an ongoing solution in order to help you get the result that you're looking for over and above the lead magnet that your client or you have initially experienced. And of course, the fourth major stage here is that it is a tool specifically designed to convert a person from being a potential qualified lead into a customer that has bought something from you for the purpose of creating influence in their mindset and changing the way that they see what you offer in your service, and being able also to test out and trial an aspect of your service. And the key goal that we want to accomplish here is to convert the potential qualified lead into a buyer, but also, really importantly, is to help them change the relationship that they have with your service or what you are promoting and offering in the way of engaging with your service into a customer from a potential customer, even if it's just a few dollars, in order to effectively bring them into a place or a position where they've made a decision to engage with your service and exchange something that they perceive is of value in their hip pocket, put it into yours to receive something that they perceive represents a value around that transaction. And that and this is the other key thing here too, is that your key objective is in order for you to build trust from your opt-in, which is your lead magnet, to the purchase that they now make, which is then to the next step as your buyer gateway. And so what you want to do here, the key word here is trust. You want to be able to build trust. Now just make sure that everyone is getting what I'm sharing here. Could everyone type into your chat box, or just go ahead and type into your chat box, that makes sense, or that's okay, or yep, got that, great, okay, yep, seeing some comments come through. Look, I've got a question here, and this has actually caught my attention. I think it's worth mentioning. From Gary. Thanks, Gary, for your question. The question is, how do you go about developing trust if you don't have a buyer gateway? Well, there's a different way of doing that, Gary, and for everyone on the call tonight that has a similar question or the same question, look, the reality is that you can build trust. It's just going to take a lot longer to develop that trust over this marketing system if you're not using a buyer gateway in order to attract that. And if I could probably share something with you, Gary, and for the rest of the audience that this is applicable to, the number one reason where we've experienced this question when we've been working with our clients has been their question mark over whether or not they can develop an aspect of their service or their product that they can then form as a buyer gateway to then give a person like a trial experience or a very low-level experience that effectively leads them to looking at purchasing the core service of the product that the business offers. And the reality is that if you sense that that's the question underneath what you're asking here, then I'd suggest to you it probably is because of a lot of the feedback where we've had the same sort of question from clients that have raised this issue about building trust alternatively. The reality is that you can always find an aspect of your product or your service that you can turn into a very low-level product or service experience in order to convert that potentially qualified lead into a buying customer, someone that will exchange money out of their hip pocket to experience an aspect, no matter how small or how economical it might be. It's still going to be an aspect of your service that represents, in part, a greater experience that they can have of your service or your product. So I trust that answers your question. And effectively, the buyer gateway is to build trust from your opt-in to their purchase that they make. Now, why specifically the buyer gateway? I know that I've answered this question in part already, but I want to unpack this a little bit more. Essentially, there's three key components that makes the buyer gate as important and as influential a tool as it is. And firstly, it makes it easy for a potentially qualified lead to test you as a purchasing customer. So imagine, let's go back a step. They've acquired your lead magnet. They've sat down. Let's say it's a report on how to do X, Y, and Z in half the time of what it would usually take them to do something. And so they've read this really simple report, digested the information in around 5 to 10 minutes. They've got an aha moment. It's made sense to them, and now they can see clearly what they've learned out of your report, how they can implement that and get a better result than what they're getting right now. And they've tested that. They've got some results from that. So that report has now proven its value and its worth to help your potentially qualified lead at that stage of qualification that they are to get the result that your report indicates that it would give them. So straight away, you've written it down in Word. They've put it into practice. Your Word reflects the result that you promised that you would get them. There's immediate congruency there, and you've started to develop a foundation of trust. Now, what they want to be able to do is to get exposure to a greater measure of your service, your product, and build upon the experience that they've had. They've got one solution. Now, great, I want to build up another solution on top of what I've just done. What else can I access? And so they now have come into your buyer gate, and they go ahead and they make a very small purchase and access them. The purpose in doing that is you make it easy for them to test the validity of your initial lead magnet. And I want you to catch this. I want you to really get what I'm about to share with you, is that the other reason, or when you offer the buyer gate, and this is really a critical reason why it's so important to incorporate this as part of your marketing system, when they engage a buyer gate, they are now testing you not for the first but now for the second time. And the law of consistency, which if those of you familiar with Robert Cialdini's book, the laws, or I think it's called Influence, and it looks at the 6 laws of influence. In his research over, I think it was like a decade or 12 years, he established that one of the key ways to influence a person to go from being a potential purchaser to an actual purchaser or client is by introducing the influential law of consistency. So now you've proven something works once, you're giving them an opportunity to test you yet again, and as they engage and buy your buyer gate and they acquire another aspect of your service or your product that they can then put to test and get another result that improves upon what they've just got, you have now demonstrated consistency in their thinking. And that's incredibly important because the law of consistency is a very powerful driver to continue to encourage trust being developed, which then leads to believability and engaging with an ongoing aspect of your service, your product. And it's a pathway to make it really easy for them to then engage your core service or product rather than having to make a big stand-up decision right at the start, which would obviously take a lot longer. And Gary and the others, that this question that you asked earlier, I trust that explanation helps to fill out in a little bit more understanding the reason why the buyer gateway is such a critical part of our marketing plan, and we believe it should be a part of yours as well. Clearly, it establishes your service as an ideal standard or an ideal solution that they can again depend upon, rely upon, and utilize to build that trust further. And the other great thing about this is that as you've given them the lead magnet first and now the buyer gateway second, you've now instituted an expectation to lead into your core service or product. So when they have an opportunity and they're in a position where they see themselves now ready to want to explore your core service or core solution and acquire that product for themselves, the pathway for them to make a decision to consider that is going to be relatively straightforward and easy because you've convinced them in the lead magnet on a complimentary or a free basis. You've demonstrated consistency and convinced them with your buyer gateway with a very, very small introduction or entry. And I'll give you an idea of the value, and it's just a few dollars that you should market or benchmark it at. And so now as you've done those first 2 steps, when you're going to talk about your core service, it's going to be straightforward. So what does a buyer gate have? What does a really good buyer gate have? And this is the criteria that we have comprised and that we check box or tick off anytime that we create a buyer gate, either for our own business or for our clients' businesses. So specifically, the service around your buyer gate, I've mentioned this before, it's got to be a low barrier to entry, where the issue of price is no longer an objection or never becomes an objection. It's got to be easy to understand and explain, and one of the keys to clarify what I mean by easy to understand and explain is simply that it's got to be really easy to understand how to do what your buyer gate is promising to teach them to do and help them get the result that they want. It also seamlessly leads as a next step in the pathway to considering your core offer as your service, your product, that eventually, as they become aware of that, then they can then consider a greater experience of what you offer. And it's just, okay, I've gone from lead magnet to buyer gateway. I've got a great experience in both of those steps in this pathway. So now I'm looking at the big picture or the full product or the full suite of what you offer as a service. Tested it once, tested it twice, and the core offer, to me, it looks like a no-brainer. It fits my need. It delivers a solution or promises to deliver a solution that I have a problem or a challenge that I want a solution for, and there's trust there. So now I'm going to make and go ahead. The decision to go ahead and make the purchase is relatively straightforward. It also, let me again unpack this for you. It's also going to be useful, but incomplete. Now, I'd like to give you an example of our buyer gateway for our business development service and solution that Leading Point offers to attract clients or get a business more clients, utilizing a number of different systems and services that we've developed and we can customize and put together. Our buyer gateway is our marketing blueprint across a number of our different systems and services represented in a process map or a flow chart. So, for example, if you wanted to learn the best practice that we've developed that continues to get consistent results time and time again, every time we implement this for a client, no matter what their industry is, you can, and you'll see this because if you subscribe to this particular series, I'm just thinking ahead at the moment, you've subscribed to the series, so you're going to get some additional videos that you'll watch, another 3 after this one, and some cool downloadable resources that you can access, and worksheets that you can work through, and you'll also get some follow-up emails that I've also articulated at the end of each of these presentations. Those follow-up emails will contain links to our buyer gateway, I think once or twice, I'm unsure exactly, but keep an eye out for it. And even if you look at this purely as an example to consider what it is that I'm talking about here in this webinar here tonight, look at our buyer gateway as an example, and if you see it's of value, go ahead and buy it. I think it's about $12 or something really small. But the point I'm getting at here is our buyer gateway represents something that has high value. It's effectively a done-for-you, step-by-step map of implementing a particular type of marketing service or a marketing system in order to help you build a channel or a number of different channels to send your message out to your ideal client profile and reach them in the different areas where they congregate. And there's ways that we utilize the systems and software that we use in order to reach them where they congregate. And we include some of those systems that we've developed. We include some of those process maps to show you exactly how to do that. So what effectively you have is, as an example, it's useful and it shows you step by step exactly what you need to do from activity to activity, point to point, step by step. But unless you know how to engage some of these different types of marketing systems and some of the external platforms that are available to you, like LinkedIn, Pinterest, some offline services and postcards and direct invitations, and being able to know how to utilize those platforms within our done-for-you step-by-step system, well, then it's going to be incomplete because you're still going to have to know when it says do a profile search with this criteria on these people, this type of occupation or vocation in the LinkedIn platform. Unless you know how to do that, then your learning pathway is going to be to go onto LinkedIn and do a bunch of keyword searches to figure out the tutorials that will teach you how to do that we've also learned how to do, and we've also found out some additional things that LinkedIn don't teach you of how to do exactly what I've just shared with you, and that is to find the key people that have specific criteria around an occupation, and based on a couple of aspects of LinkedIn, and we match that with some things that we do in Google search as well, we're able to then pull through information and create an initial lead data set, or a database of initially qualified, or what we call potential qualified leads, that have criteria that we know are going to immediately elevate our chance at creating interest to an initial lead magnet, and therefore improve our conversion all the way through to a buy gateway. Unless you know how to do that, looking at our process maps will give you an idea of the things that you need to do, and then also highlight to you some additional things that you may not know how to do, and realize that I also need to learn how to do this particular step really well. So it's designed to give you an indication that when you want to develop a particular marketing system, this is the way to do it. And if you need additional help, well, we've got some other additional services we provide for you that we're happy to sit down and have a chat to you about. And this is what you want your buyer gateway effectively to do for your own business, is to be useful but incomplete. Still give them something of value, so you're educating them, and they can even try some things where they do know how to do certain things. They can implement aspects of your buyer gateway, but certainly you don't want to make it a complete solution where they're getting a lot of value for a very, very little investment. And as I mentioned, it has a high perceived value, and it actually has high actual value, where those aspects where they know how to do the service, they can then implement and get a result and test that and validate the high value of your buy gateway that you've just shared with them. All right, so what I want to do now is let's look at an example of one of the aspects of our buy gateway, or our marketing system, and we'll open up the anatomy. So you'll see there a number of boxes. This is just a very, very simple process map of a buyer gateway within one of our marketing services. So we've got, I think, 7, 8 marketing services, which we are able to then combine in different combinations to deliver 7 different types of marketing systems. So if you want to learn more about that or find out a little bit more about that, you can visit our site, and I think there's a couple of links on there where you can learn more about our systems and our services. Feel free to go and do that when you would like to. Right now, what I want to do is unpack for you the anatomy of our buyer gateway, or our buy gate. So straight away you see the opt-in. The opt-in is this initial communication to your potentially qualified lead audience, where they see the opt-in, and as a result of seeing the opt-in, they then see that there's an opportunity for them to engage in your lead magnet. This is your initial offer. This is a very ultra-specific solution to an ultra-specific problem that your ideal client has, and that you want to be able to deliver a lot of high value, a lot of actual value, and it's very easy to digest and relatively easy to work through and get the answers that they want as they engage that lead magnet. So that offer represents the lead magnet, and in this anatomy of this process map, it shows us that they've engaged in that lead magnet. And then the education phase is where we've created a follow-up system where we may send them 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 emails, depending upon what the lead magnet is, in order to educate them a little bit further and continue to add more education, more information, and more value to build upon what they've just learned that's helped them to get the solution to the problem or the challenge that they have, and then give them some additional aspects that are going to have even more value when it's combined with their initial lead magnet. So again, we're continuing to build this relationship of value, we're building trust, we're demonstrating what we're offering to them, continues to validate their experience as to us being an ideal solution provider to a particular problem that they have. And so now, after we've built that little bit of a relationship and we've put into place that the proving of what we've offered as a solution works, they've got results from implementing it, and they've had a little bit of time to digest that and reflect upon it. Now we're going to introduce an offer to the buyer gate, or the actual buyer gate itself. As I've mentioned, our example is a series of done-for-you process maps showing you step-by-step, similar to what you're seeing on the screen right now, as a marketing system for different types of services or systems, such as landing pages, autoresponders, product launches, those types of things. We've got a series of done for you step-by-step process maps that spell it out, map it out all for you from start to finish, and even return pathway for those that don't follow through and engage in product launches as a way to re-engage with them using a different method. That is the buyer gate, or the buyer gateway. Now, when they have the offer of that buyer gate, they then need to make a decision. Where you see the triangle, or sorry, the diamond box there with the question mark in the middle of it, that's a decision box. So they're going to now make a decision. Will I or won't I purchase this buyer gate? And so if they choose not to purchase the buyer gate, then they get switched out of the current list that their email and their details are in, and they get switched into another list that then serves to deliver some more additional information around their original lead magnet to continue to build the value for them. And then at some stage in the future, we may introduce a watered down or even a smaller version of the buyer gate that we initially offered then to them, obviously to give them another opportunity to engage and become a customer and switch them from that potential qualified lead to being a paying customer, even if it's for just a few dollars. If they choose to say yes, we classify them as a VIP in our status within our CRM. That means that they get access to a whole bunch of things in the way of accessing additional information from our site and from the service we provide. And as a result of that, they are then going to get additional value over and above their buyer gate and get additional access to resources to really build upon their experience. So what we've done is we've effectively given them an opportunity that for a small investment of around, look, it could be $9 or $12, but it's around that much anyway. For that small investment, you're going to then get access, and we're going to throw the doors open and unlock access to some additional really good resources that are going to build out even more information and education, and also recommendations of what to do and where to visit to get additional resource to really help you build a little bit more depth of understanding about how to do some other areas of our process maps around our lead generation strategy and our marketing strategies. If you're able to type in your chat box any questions that you've got around this right now, and if that makes sense to you, just type in a quick yes, or all okay or all good. I'm seeing quite a few yeses. That's great. Yep, thank you, Claire. Appreciate that. Yes, and Mark. Yep, exactly. Actually, Mark's got a question. He's made a statement, but I'll turn it into a question. Mark stated, this is a really simple system that you can utilize across different areas of your business and create a lot of buyer gateways, or if that's what I understand him to read. And the reality is, yes, Mark, you can do that. You don't have to just develop one buyer gate out of your service. You can develop 10 and therefore create 10 buyer gateways or 10 buyer gates that then follow in off 10 different lead magnets that you can create for your business. And I'd just like for you to check in and consider what I've just shared with you. Thanks to Mark bringing that up and making that statement. This is a model, and one of the great things about a resourceful model is that if it's scalable and duplicatable, then it has the ability to leverage your business up very quickly. And so this system is easily duplicatable, where you can make 10, 20, 30 different buyer gates. I think we've got in total around about 14 to 15 based on 5 different lead magnets. You might have 4 buyer gates for one lead magnet, or one buyer gate per lead magnet, and as many lead magnets you develop with landing pages and marketing systems around that, you might then develop 10 or 20 buyer gates to reflect the number of lead magnets that you got, to really open up the different aspects of your service, your product, and create as much opportunity for your audience to engage with your service, your product, and to continue to develop your pipeline and progressively lead them through your pipeline and ascend them up your pipeline so they're getting a greater measure of your experience and a more thorough understanding of the type of service you offer and how much value it really imparts for what it is that they're looking for as a solution. So I trust that that makes sense. That's a really simple example of the anatomy of one of our buyer gates. So your next step from here in wrapping up, go to the worksheet that we've got linked below this video that you'll probably see on our page, or once this video has been put up in our website in our complimentary members area. Have a look below. You'll see the link to the worksheet, and obviously go ahead and begin to develop an outline of your own buyer gate to start to get you thinking about what aspect of your service, your product, you can construct and develop around your own business. And of course, there's additional resources of how to develop this particular buyer gate into something tangible that you can use in your own business. That's also going to be sent to you. Some aspects and some additional information over the next week. I think we've got 2 emails with some specific information or resources connected with both of those emails that are really going to help you flesh out and really put some structure around getting a great buyer gate, and then knowing how to create one buyer gate and then finding a derivative of that buyer gate to help you to develop another one. So you've got a number of different aspects, a number of different buyer gates to reflect a number of different lead magnets, all pointing towards an expectation of a lot of value and a good investment in your core product or your service. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate your attention tonight. And we're going to wrap this up right now because I did promise a lot of you that it's going to be brief. The first one, which is always important, we need to spend a little bit of time around because it's probably the most important stage in your entire marketing system, and that is your lead magnet. That's your initial attraction that creates that engagement and that initial connection to create the experience with your content. And then out of your content comes the opportunity for them to get to know you as a person a little bit better than what they did in the first stage, and therefore introduce a little bit of your character to work towards building some depth in that relationship and work towards building some trust around what you're offering and developing in your pipeline. So thank you once again, everyone. Really appreciate your attendance here tonight. Trust you have found this of value. If you've got any questions, just simply flick them through, fire email to us here on concierge@leadingpoint.com.au, and we can then take our time to respond to those. And yes, well, in a way, no, we won't be making the slides available. Just to answer the question from Kerry, the slides won't be available, Kerry. For everyone on this call, the videos that we're recording from the webinars that we're doing around this series and the 5X Marketing Plan, they will be uploaded into the complimentary 5X Marketing Plan area of our website that you can simply access. Put your email address in there and you'll get the whole lot, I think, delivered to you over 5 days, 5 videos over 5 days, and around about 12 to 15 follow-up emails with a bunch of really good resources. So that's it, everyone. Thanks again for your attention tonight. It's been great, and I'm really pleased that you've been able to find value. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that, Carol. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Tia. That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm really glad that this has created an aha moment for you too. Yeah, terrific. All right, everyone, thank you again for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next webinar coming up next week. All right, bye-bye.